Hello, everyone, and welcome to what I hope is the last video that you'll receive from me for this semester in COM 350. I do plan to, as promised, give you your final review tomorrow. That will most likely be on written out for you and sent to you via Blackboard because that's probably what's easiest for you as far as organizing your thoughts for studying for the final. Should you choose to do that, the final will be posted tomorrow as well, and you will have a week to take it, which, it's open book, it's open lecture, it is not comprehensive, so hopefully that will work out for you. And as you know, my exams are specifically geared to get your points up because your second paper is worth so much of your final grade. So let's talk, because some of you apparently told Dr. Larson that you did not know what you were supposed to do for paper 2, or you weren't sure how it was going to be evaluated and you were looking for some clarity. I want to give you that clarity now. So the first thing I'm going to mention is that this paper, much like your first paper, will be evaluated using the rubric that I posted on September 21st. So that is available to you under syllabus and assignments because I posted it in that first couple of weeks when we first started talking about the papers and what other things we were doing in the class. So that is there for you. If you cannot find it, please let me know. Secondly, on November 13th, I posted for you a video where I walked step by step through all 5 parts of a rhetorical criticism so that you would be able just to basically structure your paper exactly that way. And that would be a good organizing principle because all rhetorical criticisms generally follow that 5-step sort of process. So let's talk about those 5 steps briefly. Again, you can go back to that video and watch it where I get a lot more detailed than I will in this video. If you cannot access that video, please let me know. The best way to let me know, probably at this point, seeing as it's the last day of classes, is probably to text me if you can. If you can't do that or you don't want to, then send me an email. But Blackboard is not alerting me to discussion board posts or to messages I learned way back earlier this semester. So, I sort of have to go in and look for them. It doesn't let me know. But emails and text messages, I get notifications for. And of course, you can always call me as well. So let's talk about these 5 steps in a rhetorical criticism. Now, the first thing you have to choose when you're going about doing a rhetorical criticism is an artifact that's interesting to you, something that makes you have a question that can be analyzed based on the language or based on the communication within that artifact. In other words, to examine the rhetoric that's contained in that artifact. The artifact only needs to be mass mediated. I have to be able to access it. So it can't be like an interpersonal discussion or something that happened in a classroom. It needs to be something that I can access. So in some way, songs, videos, poems, books, movies. I think I gave you a little bit of a list in the November 13th video as well. And once you pick that artifact, then you need to figure out a way to look at it. What is it that you want to know about it? Do you want to know if it meets the requirements of being a rhetorical act? You might use the Neo-Aristotelian perspective, or if you want to look at the ethics of it, the Neo-Aristotelian perspective is very good for that. If you want to look at the argument and the structure of the argument and its success or lack of success, use the Toulmin model, right? The Toulmin model being, that those 6 parts of an argument that you need to fulfill in order to have a good argument. If you want to look perhaps at the motivations for why a piece of an artifact exists or why it was written or developed or produced, then obviously the Burkean perspective is the best way to go. The dramatism method, the dramatism paradigm, which has those 3 methods that I described in your video on Burke, and you could choose any one of those. And those, I'm not limiting you to only those 3. It's just that those 3 are the clearest in my mind, and in the sense that they're the easiest. Not easy as in it's not difficult to sort of figure it out and critique, but easier in the fact that it is more understandable. Okay, so I don't want to overload you with the myriad lenses that there are out there or methods that there are out there. So I sort of whittled it down for you, hoping that that will give you enough flexibility to do what you want to do in this paper. So there are 5 parts, as I said. The first part is the introduction part where you ask the question and about the artifact, and you preview your points, and you tell me what you're going to do. And then the next section, section 2, is the artifact itself. You describe the artifact. You describe the surrounding context of the artifact. If something socially is driving it, if it's a song or a movie, you might talk about how well it did on the radio, or I don't know how we evaluate music too much anymore, maybe the number 1 song on Spotify, or however you evaluate that, whether it was a really well-known song or if it sort of flew under the radar, who the audience was for it, all of those things surrounding the artifact, the things going on at the time of the artifact that might impact it when you talk about it a little bit later in your paper. The third section is the method or the lens through which you're going to be examining this artifact, what you're going to be applying to the artifact. And then the fourth is literally the application section. It is very simple and straightforward. It is, here's the lens, here's the part of the artifact that fits into that lens. That's it. That's all you need to do in that section. Some people have a very, very short application section. Some people have a much longer one. It depends on the artifact that you choose. Finally, the fifth section is the discussion or the analysis. And this is where you tell me what it means when we apply that lens to the artifact. What exactly does it tell us? Did we answer our question? So in the November 13th video, I gave you multiple examples. I think that it was a really long video because I wanted to give you as many examples as possible, is what I believe I said in there. Here, I'm just going to do one example, and it's going to be the same one, one of the ones that I used in the November 13th video. That is the song Not Ready to Make Nice, or Ready to Make Nice, whatever the name is, by what was then called the Dixie Chicks. Now they're just known as the Chicks. The song was pretty much, it came out in the early, well, I would say mid-aughts, if I recall correctly. Now, see, this is something I would have to look up and source in my artifact section, because I don't know the exact date that it came out, or how far it went up the charts. Those are things I would want to describe in the artifact. But I also might want to talk about what was going on culturally at the time that that artifact was produced, because we had come out of 9/11, and what the lead singer, Natalie Maines of the Chicks, said she was on her European tour, and she made a comment that she was not proud to be from the same state as the president of the United States at the time, who was, of course, George W. Bush, and that she did not agree that we should go to war after the 9/11 towers. So obviously that ticked off a lot of people for myriad reasons, but she got some real pushback from that when she came back to the United States. And so Toby Keith specifically started saying, hey, we should burn their records, their CDs at the time. We should not play them on the radio. They should be banned. They should be ostracized from the music industry because of what Natalie Maines had said. This album and the song that I'm talking about came out a few years later. Not Ready to Make Nice is literally Natalie Maines saying, I'm not going to say I'm sorry about what I said, and I'm not ready to say that it's okay that my music and myself and my band were ostracized because of what I said. And that's sort of the context of the song. The method that I would use is probably Burke's guilt redemption cycle. In other words, how is this song able to allow the Chicks to go through the process of the guilt redemption cycle, as I described in the Burke lecture a couple weeks ago. And so that's the method I'm going to use. So in my third section, the method, I'm going to specifically focus only on the method from Burke. And since he is one of the more modern writers, I know I can go get his books. I can get articles by him or articles that are recent that talk about him. So those are the more primary sources that I would use in the section on the method. So in the third section, or I'm sorry, in the fourth section, I'm on the fourth. This is the application where I tell you, okay, there's 3 parts to the guilt redemption cycle. Here's where in the song we can find the first part, the second part, the third part, and that's basically it. So that might be a really short section of my paper, because then in the 5th section, I'm going to do the analysis and discussion and tell you what that means. Either they successfully went through the guilt redemption cycle, or they did not go through it successfully. How am I evaluating that? What strategies did they use in the guilt redemption cycle for their purification process to return back to the symbolic order? So the analysis section, more often than not, is longer than the rest of the sections, the other sections. So again, the first section is where you ask basically your research question, or, introduce the topic, and also give me your preview of the sections that you're going to be covering, the points that you're going to be covering. The second is to talk about your artifact and the context surrounding it. The third is to talk about the method or the lens through which you're looking at that artifact. The fourth is the application of that lens to the artifact. And then the 5th is the actual analysis of what does this mean? Do keep in mind that I do not have to agree with your interpretation of things to know that you wrote a good paper, or that you demonstrated your knowledge of the artifact, the application, and your analysis. I don't have to agree with it to know that it's well written, well constructed, and well argued. So that's what you're being evaluated on. Aside from the fact that I need to access the artifact, I'm really indifferent to what artifact you pick. This is where you need to choose something that is of interest to you. In the November 13th video, I think I also talked about advertising, political campaigns, speeches, and so on. So you have a lot to choose from, and it may be a little bit overwhelming. The way that it might work best is for you to think of songs that really mean something to you, or movies that really mean something, or a scene from a television show, or a poem, or a book you read, an argument that you've seen in the newspaper, a political ad you've seen on TV, a particular product that you really, really like and how they advertise, a social movement and how you come to know about them and their communication practices, and so on. So really this is about you picking what you want and looking at it from one of those perspectives so that you can demonstrate to me that you understand how to look at something critically from a rhetorical perspective. So I hope I didn't muddy it up more. Hopefully this clarifies even more. But again, if you can't access that November 13th video, that is key and that is important. So please make sure that you can watch that before you try to write this paper. As you know, the original due date for that paper was tomorrow, but I have extended that out until next Friday. So I'm not going to say that the earlier you turn it in, the earlier I'm going to grade it, but the earlier you turn it in, the better chance there is that I'm going to have your grade up. All of your grades will be ready as they are supposed to be on Monday for me to enter. I've never missed that deadline yet. So no matter what, that will happen. Do not worry if you turn it in next Thursday and you're like, well, I won't be able to get a grade. Yes, you will. That's no problem at all. But post it when you want to post it. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about that, I'm going to encourage you, since we're coming up on finals week and today is the last day of classes, to text me, call me, or email me. Texting is obviously the fastest way for me to respond, and email's the second fastest, because during this week and next week, we're basically sitting at our computers watching for things to come through. And I get notifications for both of those. So that is super helpful. If you need to do a Zoom meeting, let me know. I am available all this weekend and next week until Friday. If you need to do a phone call, that's fine too. Zoom, phone call, whatever you want to do, let me know and we will get it done. In the meantime, I hope you actually enjoy writing this paper, and I hope I clarified and did not make it worse for you. Let me know how you're doing. Good luck with it. Tomorrow you will receive a written review of your final exam for your final exam, but as you know, that final exam is open note, open book, open lecture, and you have a week to do it. And no, it's not comprehensive. It's going to be just like test 1 and 2. So hopefully that helps you out a little bit. And good luck with your finals.